gonna put some pressure on some people's necks.
Karen's calling me a cop caller. Why don't you say it to my face?
What's up, folks with nothing better to do? I'm BlogXilla, and you're watching the No Judgment Zone. And today I have a very, very special guest with me, the lovely Karen Gravano.
Hello.
What's going on?
Nothing. Just enjoying life.
I'm happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Mob Wives is back on television now.
Yes.
Are you excited being back on the show, doing the show again?
I am. You know, it's good. I took a year off, which was probably a good thing for me because I had like a little vacation to get my mind together to come back to go to war. It seems like that's, you know,
war indeed. You guys got into a big argument, a big little fight with Natalie, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's whack for her to do that.
No, you know what? It's just when someone's so irrelevant and really don't have a storyline, they're going to come after the person that has the biggest name. So she's trying to get famous by using my name. But it's just, you know, I look at it as pure comedy now. It's just, she's the type of girl that wants to say everything about someone to try to come at them, but it's really her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She uses the word rat. She's a rat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Granted, she wants to use that because of my situation with my father, but I've never told on anyone. I've never even been on anyone's paperwork. She's all over people's paperwork. I mean, it's obvious. Her boyfriend just was in a situation. She's calling the cops asking for, you know.
Wow.
So.
That's horrible.
It is.
It must be a little frustrating because, you know, I'm friends with a couple of reality stars, and I do always see them, like, people come for them a lot.
Right.
So, like, how is that, you know, because some of these girls are your friends, like Renee's your friend, right?
Right,
Renee's your friend. So to be and hanging out with your friend, to go into having to deal with someone like Natalie, that's frustrating.
Yeah, it is definitely frustrating. You know, it was hard for me to even watch season 4 because I felt like me, Renee, Carla, Drita, we got this started. We were in, you know, in the house basically putting together the sizzle reel. So to watch people now that want to come on the show and attack, and it's frustrating, especially people that are so irrelevant, and it's just, but now, you know, it's just at the point where you have to sit back and say, okay, I guess you got to ride my coattails to be famous.
Right.
So hold on tight because it's going to be a fun ride.
I'm about to drag you, bitch. Just
right.
So now, I know you're getting into a little bit of acting. Is that something that you want to do?
Yes, you know, it was actually something, I did an off-Broadway play. It was my big gay Italian wedding. And the writer, he's from Staten Island, so he writes.
Oh, you were in that. I heard about that play.
Yes. And I'm actually doing the funeral. It's
cool.
going to be on January 25th, which is something fun. It's a really fun show, and it's interesting for me because the guy who wrote the play, he's from Staten Island, so he uses a lot of places. Actually, the club that I'm working at is Ramona's uncle's club. It's like a mock of her uncle's club. So growing up, he had a club in Brooklyn called Spectrums. So it's kind of like we're mocking that. So it's fun. It kind of brings back old memories, and it's just, you know, it's something cool. How,
growing up, when did you realize that your dad was in the Mafia?
Probably when I was 10 years old. I went to school, Toad Hill, Staten Island Academy, some prep school, and this family invited me over, my friend, and they, you know, mother was inside cooking, nice family, and we were outside playing, and the girl says, see that house across the street? A big gangster lives there. And I'm looking at the house, which I was there a couple of times because it was Paul Castellano's house, and I'm thinking, a gangster, you know, I thought he was in construction. So I didn't say anything at the time, and I went home and asked my father, so Dad, if Paul's a gangster, does that mean you're a gangster too? And I thought it was a good thing because one day we'd have the big house and live on the hill like Paul. I didn't relate it to anything bad, but it was, you know, 10 is when I really started noticing things. And
when you asked that dad your question, what was his answer? Because he must try to keep you sheltered from it all. Yeah. I know I'm trying to keep my daughter sheltered from the entertainment business.
Right. He was like, a gangster, what's that? I'm like, I don't know. If Paul's a gangster, he's like, Paul's not a gangster, he's in construction. And he kind of just laughed it off.
Okay.
So, but there were other signs, like, you know, my father owned a nightclub, and outside the nightclub, someone was actually murdered outside the nightclub. So it's like, for a minute, you'd think, like, could he have been involved? But then you see a person that's acting so normal, he's not nervous. Like, I don't know, I mean, at 10 years old, when you watch the movies, if someone commits murder, they're usually on the run.
Right.
So for me, I'm like, no, he couldn't have never been involved in that.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was older, like I was probably 16 when I started really thinking, okay, John Gotti was in the news every day, my father was with him, you know, and then there was the whole Paul Castellano hit, and at that point I'm like, okay, they're involved in this.
So the game is called Cards Against Zilla, and the object of the game is to be the worst human being possible. We have a list of cards for both of the people, and you're basically just going to try to find the worst possible card in your hand to fill in the blank for these black cards.
Boom.
What helps Obama unwind?
Boom. Here's my card.
So Zilla's is what helps Obama unwind? Grave robbing.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to dig up some old dead bodies. Let's dig up Bin Laden.
Yeah. No.
Karen, what helps Obama unwind? 50,000 volts straight to the nibbles.
Ooh.
I just figured.
I knew Obama was a freak. How was it seeing Gotti on the news? Because I know for me, I lived in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and I remember when they would come down to the port. I lived in a port. And you would hear about it. I never saw it, but you would hear about it. So how was it seeing them on the news and stuff like that?
You know, I think for me it was like watching my life unfold, because even though I wasn't part of my father's life, seeing men that I knew, and, you know, John used to call the house, I used to call him Uncle John, it was kind of like, I thought it was cool. It wasn't until later that I thought, you know, when I really realized how uncool it was. Because here's the mob, you're supposed to be a secret society, no one's supposed to know anything that you're doing, and they're on, you know, the 6 o'clock news every night. So it wasn't until later, and after, you know, everything had happened between my father and John, and reading like the papers and hearing other people talk, how, you know, that was probably the biggest mistake in the downfall of the mob right there.
How do you feel about like hip hop and rappers glorifying the mob?
You know, when it's an interesting. I mean, Hollywood does it all the time. They make movies, and it's a world that people are interested in. So I mean, hey, if it's something to talk about and something to rap, a lot of times people don't have the story as accurate or whatever it is, but people rap about things that they hear about or went through themselves. So it's, you know, they're telling their version or their fantasy version of it. So it's okay.
Speaking of sheltering, being sheltered, your daughter, she's getting into modeling now, right?
Yes.
What has that experience been like for you as a mother?
Oh, it's crazy. You know, at one, I'm looking at her and I'm like, she's getting so big, she's beautiful, and then the other, I'm like, I just want to take her and wrap her up in a blanket and put her back in the room because I don't want her out. So I mean, this is something that she's always wanted to do. Being here in New York, she has the opportunity. My boyfriend Storm's friend, his very good friend, is a designer, so Karina had the opportunity to walk in a fashion show. And I was really proud, but at the same time, like, oh my God, my baby's getting so grown. I'm nervous at the same time.
Yeah. What is your relationship like with Storm? Like, what is your typical day like with this guy?
Storm he's funny, you know, we get up, like, he does his thing, I do my thing, but he's funny, he's serious. It's just, you know, it's a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. He probably wants to choke me at times, I get on his nerves. I'm sure the same typical relationships that men and women have. But overall, like, for me, the biggest thing that I have with him is I know that he has my back 100%. So at the end of the day, like, no matter whatever our days are like, we always come home and I know that I have someone there that supports me and has my back. So it's, you know, it's a good relationship.
Is it frustrating? People starts to say stuff about, I know they called you like really bad names for loving him. Is that frustrating?
What kind of names?
Like a nigger lover.
Yeah. You know, listen, at the end of the day, I've always been called names, and for me, it's so at the point where people are just so ignorant that you just have to laugh at it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm a person who was never taught to judge a person on color, race, religion. You judge an individual by how they are and how they treat you.
Yeah.
So a person that's going to judge someone else obviously doesn't have a lot going on in their own, you know what I mean?
It's always
in their world. You want to judge someone else because you're not happy with yourself.
Right.
So to me, it's like, I don't really even care what people have to say about me because obviously they have a problem to be judging me.
Yeah. It's always reflection. They're reflecting it on you.
I deal with it. I have this moron Natalie on the show that used that word a couple of times, and there's tapes out there. So that's another thing. I have to sit in the room with this girl. Okay, you don't like black people, you don't like fat people, you don't like people but you're everything that you're the person that's everything that you're hating.
Yeah.
So you obviously hate yourself. It's insecurities, and that's how I feel, not just about her, but about other people. Hi, this is Karen from Mob Wives, and you're watching Global Grind TV.
Fuck you up, son.
Do you feel like you got a claim at the title of King of New York? Or is that still important that people even want anymore?
Nah,